Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the new features webinar, What's New in CourtReserve webinar for Q3 of 2024. We're going to be going over everything that was released in CourtReserve from our product team here in October of 2024. The release day was, I believe it was last Tuesday, October 15th. And so we're really excited to start taking you through some of these new features and updates that we have to the system. I'm joined today with my fellow product team members, Josh. Everybody might recognize Josh. He's been with us now for a little bit. And then we have a new member to our team that's joining us today as well, Scott. And so how we'll run this webinar, if you've never been part of our webinars before, is if you have any questions as we go through, please post those questions to the Q&A section, and then we'll answer some of those questions live, or our team members will be in the background also responding to your questions as well. So let's take it away. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So again, these are all of the items that were released in October of 2024 to CourtReserve. The first item that we will talk about is our brand new GoTab integration. So we are super excited to now be able to offer a food and beverage point of sale integration with our system. GoTab is a very robust food and beverage point of sale. If you're not familiar with GoTab, I highly recommend you take a look at the information that we have on our website about GoTab and schedule yourself a demo. They have an amazing team that can walk you through everything that their software has to offer. It does things like you can place the order through the point of sale. It'll send the items to the kitchen so you can build out your menus. And then when it comes to actually the integration piece, it's really cool because the way we've done it is you can then charge those food and beverage purchases to the CourtReserve account of your members. So there's a lot of advanced functionality that you can do now here with this integration. You can run your restaurants, you can charge your members for the purchases that they make. And it's got a lot of information, and there's a lot of things that you can do here now. So we are going to be doing a webinar with the GoTab team. Just they're going to do a demo from their end, and then we'll do a demo from our end perspective as well, get a lot of your questions answered. We're still in the process of scheduling that, so keep your eyes open for that information. That'll be coming soon. We'll post it on our Facebook. We'll probably put it up in the posts through the software, and then we'll also send out emails informing you of when that integration or when that meeting will be coming as well. But definitely check out GoTab. We have a lot of information on our website, and there's also a great blog article post about what you can do with this integration as well. The other exciting piece that we released in Q3 this year is our account credits project. So we were so excited to finally get this released and out to our customers. So what is the accounts credit project? We've been talking about it for a really long time. Account credits is basically a change in the credit model of the system. So previously, CourtReserve ran on a positive or negative balance credit. If you had a positive balance, it meant that you owed money. If you had a negative balance, it meant that you had money available as a credit. And so when you created those fees in CourtReserve for your members, all of your fees were, or I'm sorry, all of your credits were applying automatically to those unpaid fees. Well, this project changes that. So what did we do with this? We've given you the ability to decide whether or not you want to auto-apply credits to unpaid fees. What this has also done is given us the ability to give you essentially two buckets. So now players are going to be able to carry an amount due, and then players are also able to carry a credit system as well. So that also gives you, the admin or the player, the autonomy to decide when you want to spend that credit and when you want to keep that credit to be used for later. Get into a little bit more about how that works on the admin pay window as well. We've also updated some UI here. So as you can see, this is the header actually in a player's profile. So players are, as an admin, you can now see, how much the player has due and available in credit right from their account. When looking at their account from any part of their account. You also have some updated UI on these icons up here in the top as well. So you have your waiver icon. You also have a new icon for your card on file and your ACH here also. So within the settings page, how do I actually go in here and decide that I don't want to auto apply credits to unpaid fees? So it's going to live in your integrated payments section. This is going to be checked by default when we migrated all of our customers. Now, if you're one of our customers who was within beta, we actually disabled this for you already. But when we released this to all of our customers on October 15th, we checked the auto apply account credits to unpaid fees because this is how it worked previously. So we didn't want to interrupt your business operations. So if you haven't already done so, you can go into your integrated payments page. You can uncheck this setting right here to auto apply credits. And then once you uncheck that, from that moment forward, anytime you have an unpaid fee and the player has an account credit, the account credit's not going to be applied to that unpaid fee going forward until you decide to apply that credit through a payment process. So what else changed? Again, when we did this migration, again, we basically changed the naming of balance credit to account credit and split it into two buckets. So the naming convention really is the most significant change throughout the rest of the software, other than the amount auto applying. And so again, you have this new amount due. So if the balance credit for the player was positive, they converted to an amount due. If the balance credit for that player was negative, it was in a parentheses before, it converted to an account credit. So when we did this conversion, either players were going to have an amount due or an account credit or nothing. So if you have any questions about how that migration process went, you can also reach out to our customer success team, and they can look into anything that you might have questions about that with as well. The next piece that we updated here was we gave admins the ability to apply that credit when you're actually in the checkout process. So this is the next couple of images are ones that I pulled from actually our knowledge base article. So all of this information is also available in our knowledge base. If you go to the little book in your top right-hand corner of CourtReserve, the knowledge base is there. Just go into the knowledge base and search account credit. You'll pull up the full article. There's even a great video tutorial that Josh did within that article as well that walks you through all of the changes with account credits as well. So the first thing you'll notice in here is that in the top right-hand corner of your admin pay window, if a player has an account credit, you're going to see that up here, and it's going to tell you the total amount of credit that that player has for that player or their family, okay? You've got your charge in here as we did before. We've also updated the UI on this page down in here as well. So now there's a toggle button for apply credit. When you open this admin pay window, we're going to automatically toggle on the apply credit. So it's going to apply the amount of credit that you might have available. So to cover the fee. So if I had a credit amount here of, let's say $100, it's only going to apply the amount that I would need to cover that fee here. I can also choose to untoggle the credit if I don't want to apply it. And then there's also some additional functionality here. So when you apply the credit, you can actually enter the payment amount that you want to make here. So it also gives you some flexibility to apply a partial payment. So you could just apply that credit. You could, apply the credit, charge, maybe an additional amount of money for a deposit or something like that, if that's the way you're doing it, and then it's going to tell you how much is going to be due here as well. And that would be how much is remaining on the fee that needs to be paid. So again, there's a lot of functionality in here with this new admin pay window, and also giving you the ability to choose when that credit is being applied. All right. Next piece, batch billing. So how does account credit work with the batch billing? So we did give, this was one of the questions that we got in beta. So within the knowledge base article, there is a section about how account credit works with batch billing, but I will quickly cover that here with you. So when you create a batch, we also give you a setting here that when you're generating invoices and collecting payment, so you're generating the invoice, and then when you hit go, it collects the payment at the same time the invoice is being created. We gave you the ability here to apply the credit when auto collecting invoice payments. So how that's going to work is we look at the total of the invoice, we look at the amount credit that the player has on their account, and we take the difference. We will attempt to charge their payment profile the difference. If that difference goes through, so the payment processes for the difference, will then apply the account credit. The invoice will be paid, but doing that, you won't ever end up with an invoice that is partially paid. So definitely check that out. You do have the ability to apply credits when collecting invoices. Within reporting, we've added, so this is a picture of your transactions list. Again, most of the information that I'm covering is what's available in the knowledge base article. So definitely check that out. If you have any additional questions about other specific financial capabilities here, please reach out to our customer success team. But when reviewing transactions, you're going to see any payments made using account credits are displayed as this payment AC account credit, or I'm sorry, payment AC transaction type. So you can easily identify which ones are account credit and which ones are made with other standard forms of payment. You also have the payment type in here of account credit as well, listed with all your other payment types. And then also within the transactions list, you also have additional filtering capabilities to filter by these different transaction payment types, or within refunds as well. You can search by those refunds with account credit. Additional reporting here. So within your member searches, we've also given you some transparency on account credits as well. So you're going to see who has an amount due, see who has credit on their account. So this picture comes from our membership list here in my account. And so I've got a column here with amount due. As I'm looking at the membership list, I've got a column here for account credit. So I can toggle those different filters to maybe pinpoint certain members that I'm looking for that maybe have a balance over a certain amount or something like that. So you also have visibility on those lists as well. And then to further the functions on just the membership side of what you can search for with account credits on members, within your members reports on the left-hand navigation, go to reports, members. Within the filtering tools on those members reports, you're going to have an amount due and an account credit here as well, just so you can pin, and it's going to give you the ability to say, I want only members who have an amount due greater than $100. So it's really easy to start pinpointing maybe who owes money and who doesn't. All right, so Josh, I'm going to take a pause here real quick because I was wondering if there were any questions, but actually as I glance over at my Q&A section, I don't see anything there. So I hope it's working. I'm getting a little nervous because there's no questions right now, but I'm going to keep going. If somebody notices that our Q&A section is not working, if you would just send us a quick chat. I know our chat box is working because somebody posted a question right when we started. But if you notice that that's not working, please just alert us and let us know. But awesome, no questions. I'm here. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thanks for testing. I was getting a little nervous there. All right, so I'm going to keep going, but thank you for that, just to letting us know that it was working. I'm going to keep going with some exciting app updates. We released some really cool functions with our app last week, and then actually, just yesterday, we started another release process with our app that I'll get into as well. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is with the CourtReserve mobile app. If you have updated your app, you're going to notice that we have a brand new splash screen here. And actually, as of yesterday, we have a new loading function right when you open up the app as well. So we're pretty excited about the new UI change here. With this new get started, with the new app update, I'm sorry, we have a new flow for player onboarding. So the idea here is gonna make it a lot easier for players to get into CourtReserve, create an account, and find the organization that they want to join. It's also going to do a check here to see if the player already exists somewhere in the CourtReserve database, and then provide them a more logical flow of logging in and then being directed to your organization, okay? So I see some questions coming in here as well. So I'm going to get through this app update section, Josh, and then we can address any questions that maybe came up while I was talking about this, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so with this new get started flow, let's go through here real quick. So we have this new get started flow, sorry, and then we have a new flow here too that we've introduced to request a code. So the request a code flow is going to allow members to easily log in if they don't remember their password. It's going to take in their email address. It's going to say, hey, we found you. We sent you a code. Take that code and paste it in here and you can log in without a password. At that point, it's going to give them the opportunity to update their password as well, in case they don't remember it, so they'll remember it next time. But it's just a way easier way to enter. Actually, our team, when we've been testing this in the background, we have, a couple test email addresses that we use. I never remember my password. So it's actually been really easy even for us as a team to be able to, test the different things that we need, because all we have to do is send ourselves an email and we get a code to get right in. So you can even log in really not necessarily with a password, and it's super easy and simple to get through. Okay, so the getting started flow here, when I say it's easier for players to onboard and get into the app, what it's going to do is going to take you through this get started flow, and we're going to have you get started, and we just want to know if you are a CourtReserve user right now. So you're going to enter your email address, and if you're not a CourtReserve user, then we're going to take you through a flow to find a club, or I'm sorry, to create an account in CourtReserve, find a club, and then onboard through that club that you find. So you'll notice if you were to just log out of your CourtReserve app and start clicking through this flow, it's going to be a lot easier to get players in, find their club, and then get them a membership in that club and sign up at that club. The next one, again, log in to access your account. So you're going to enter your email address, try and find if you don't remember your password, you're going to request a code. We'll find your email and then we'll send you an email address, or I'm sorry, send you an email with a code that you can then enter to gain access into your account. And then I did want to click back here. I did want to also mention that just yesterday, we started a new performance update that gets released over the next week through the app stores. So we started this, it was an app update that went in yesterday, and the way that the Apple Store works is they get released incrementally to different Apple users over the next week. People that already have their automatic updates turned on will get their CourtReserve app updated over the next week. So you might, with this app update, it is going to log players out, which is a reason that we are very excited that we have this new request a code. So it's a lot easier for players to now log back in. But this new performance update on the app is going to make it more native. And so that's going to be a lot easier for people to use different fields as they're typing. Keyboard use is a lot better. The way the app scrolls is going to be a lot better too. So there's definitely some really great updates with the performance update that we put into the app. Again, that's going to gradually go into accounts over the next week through the App Store and the Google Play Store. If you would like to, you can actually go to the App Store and it should tell you that your app needs to be updated if it hasn't automatically updated as well. All right, let me just see. Okay, so Josh, I'm going to take a pause here. Is there any questions that have come in just about anything account credit that maybe we need to address, GoTab, or any of these app updates?
Yeah, so we do have a few questions just on the verification process. So is it
Sure.
just a one-time code that's sent to the member when they click that button?
Yeah, so if the member already has an account in CourtReserve, doesn't matter what club they're part of. If they click this request a code button, it's going to send a code to their email address that is active in CourtReserve. They're going to take the code and they're going to enter it in here. Okay, so if they're not part of CourtReserve yet, we're going to actually notice. Let me just get to the right flow here. We're going to notice that email doesn't exist and we'll automatically take them to join an organization. But if they already exist, yes, we are going to send them a code. They'll grab it real quick from their email. The code comes through almost instantaneously, and they can paste that in and continue on their merry way.
Great. The second question is, does this apply if an organization is using a branded app versus just the CourtReserve mobile app?
That's a great question. Yes, it applies in both scenarios. So when we released this update, actually, we released it to the branded mobile apps probably a week and a half before we actually released it with our main release on the 15th. So our branded mobile apps also have this request a code process. And I also would like to mention that this request a code process applies to members and admins. So as an admin, if you get logged out, and you go to log in again, you enter your admin email address, you can request a code to log in as well. You don't always have to remember your password.
Okay, great.
All right. I did see a question about how do I update the app? You can go into your app store and find the Court Reserve app in the app store and update it. There's a couple different ways that you can update your mobile app. I have an iPhone personally, so my updates are set to update automatically. So when we do an update like this, generally all phones will update over the next week, but you can go in to find the Court Reserve app in your phone, and it'll like if you go to your app section, usually if you go into your app section, there's a way to update it from that way, or you can go into the app store itself, search Court Reserve, and if your app needs to be updated, there'll be a little update button next to the Court Reserve app as well in the app store.
Okay, great. All right. How quickly would requesting a code take for users?
It's super quick. I actually did it probably about an hour ago for something that I was looking at, and I got the code immediately. Yeah, we were in a meeting. Josh, actually, when we were in our meeting earlier, we were talking about this, and I did request a code, and within about 5 seconds, before when I got into my email, the code was already there. So by the time I navigated away, got into my email, copied the code, like it was already there. So it shouldn't take very long.
Great. All
All
right.
right.
And Lance did have a question that I think is a good thing to point out. What if the email that user has is no longer accessible? Is there any other way they can get that code?
Um, we still have From that perspective, if you go to the login page, there's still a forgot password flow. So if you don't have that's actually a really good question, something that we should probably look into, the emails that aren't accessible anymore. But we still have a forgot password flow where you can go through a standard reset process on that. But that is really good feedback that we should probably take back to our team. Code via
Okay,
text. I see that one on my list here. We actually originally designed this with the text implementation also in mind. There were some other logistical things to work out within that we just did not have time to address at this time. We do eventually want to have the text code available, but there are some security things that we need to make sure that are in place before we do that in the future. But we do eventually want to get there with text to code because, yes, I love the fact that if I text myself a code, I don't even have to open up my text messages to retrieve that code. So that's the goal. We want to get there.
okay, great. Looks like we have a few more questions that aren't directly related to these features.
Okay.
So,
Cool. I'm going to keep going then, and then maybe we can address some of some of the other questions at the end if they're not directly related to a feature. All right, so keep going. Additional features of note. So we have enable auto payments. Cool. Yeah. Let me just switch gears here real quick in my brain. So one of the things that we introduced was the ability to enable auto payments of membership dues while also utilizing batch billing. So before this release, one of the things that was a limitation in Court Reserve was that if you were using batch billing, if you had that enabled, it did not give you the ability to auto pay membership dues because we were assuming that you were going to pay membership dues, excuse me, through an invoicing process. So what we've done is we've basically given you the ability to do that regardless of if you're using batch billing. So when we released this, we made the setting visible within your integrated payment section, which is where it already lived. If you did not have batch billing enabled, you did see this setting already there. So now you're going to see it whether you have batch billing enabled or not. So one thing I did want to point out is that when we released this, we automatically checked if you were not using batch billing, or I'm sorry, if you were using batch billing. Just think about this. Yes, if you were using batch billing, we automatically enabled you to prevent players from auto pay membership dues. Really, this just was a way to keep the integrity of the way that you already knew your system worked in place. So players just couldn't automatically opt in for something that you didn't know they were opting in for. You didn't have that capability previously. It's just keeping that integrity in place. So if you would like to go ahead and start utilizing auto pay membership dues, while you're also using batch billing, you just need to uncheck this setting here, and it's going to give you the ability to auto pay when dues are posted on the member portal. But this is a great feature. So how this works is if you are using batch billing, if you have a membership dues payment that is maybe in the queue to eventually be picked up for auto pay membership dues. So let's say your fee posts so many days in advance, and then you run a batch between when that fee posts and when the auto pay would pick up. If that fee gets picked up on an invoice, it's not going to auto pay as part of that auto pay process. Okay. So if it's already included with an invoice, it's just not going to go in the auto payment when those auto payments run. If you have any questions about how that works, please reach out to our customer success team. They can assist you a little bit further in going in depth with that if you have any questions. But it's a pretty simple process. It's just, is it included in an invoice? Yes, great. We're not going to run the auto payment. We're going to let the member pay as part of their normal invoice payment. And then another cool feature that we introduced is a small one with Duper, but it does make the difference for some people that maybe have a lot of players who don't have a Duper account linked. So it's within the ratings restrictions on an event. So if you have an event, basically what we did was we allowed you to exclude the Duper restriction in events when also using a custom rating. So this scenario is actually a lot better to explain if I have a real world example. So I've got an event here that has a duper rating. It also has a pickleball rating as a requirement. Okay, so my pickleball rating is just my custom rating. I've got standard three O's, 3 5s, 4 O's, 5 O's, all the way up as far as I want to go. And so my duper doubles rating here is requiring a rating of between 3.0 and 3.999, so not 4.0 yet. I've also, because I've got this pickleball rating category in here, I've also chosen my event to, with my custom ratings, allow people with a 3.0 and a 3.5. So if you had players that didn't have a duper rating linked, this was preventing them from playing because they didn't have a duper rating linked. So now if you go ahead and restrict based on duper only if one exists for the registrant, okay, it's gonna exclude duper basically if the player doesn't have a duper account linked. They have a duper account linked and they're either NR or they don't meet this restriction, they're still not going to be allowed into the event. But we did have a lot of feedback that people that didn't have duper were being excluded from participating in events. So we went ahead and we gave you an exclusion basically if the player doesn't have that duper account linked. All right, so I'm going to turn things over to Josh. Josh, unless there were any questions that came in the last minute, just about maybe functionality about the app or anything else that I've covered this far.
Yeah, it looks like we have a few questions on the auto payment for memberships, just in general,
Okay.
not necessarily for the specific updates. But would this be when they get the X amount of days reminder, or would the auto payment be happening when their actual due date is for their membership?
I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this because you've spent more time in CS than I have. I believe that that payment runs when the due date happens. I believe we believe we have a service that runs to pay
Correct.
those dues on the due date.
Correct. Yeah, that service will run the night before that actual due date.
Okay.
All right. And it looks like we have a question here. So that duper setting would allow for self-rating.
So that depends on how you have that custom rating set up. So there is a way in your custom ratings to make it configurable so that the player or the member can edit on their end. That to me would be a self rating. So you just have to look at the configurations of how you have those custom ratings set up. But yes, in turn, it would allow you to allow a player to self rate themselves as a duper rating if they're not linked in a duper profile. So the important thing to remember there is the player has to be unlinked to duper in order for this scenario to work. So that's why I really wanted to make sure that we hit this in the presentation today, just so I could fully explain it, as people might be stumbling upon this since we released it last week. But if you have any additional questions, maybe about how this works, or a scenario that maybe you've run into, or really how custom ratings can work with this, please reach out to our customer success team and they can definitely get you more information. They might ping myself or our team as well, just to kind of get you a more rounded explanation here if there's something that you're running into on your end that's not working.
All right, great. And we do have a question on when and how will you be able to find the recording for this webinar. We will try to get it on our YouTube channel this afternoon. If it's not on there this afternoon, it will be on there by tomorrow, definitely. And if you have trouble finding the YouTube channel or the video, feel free to reach out to our customer success team and they can get you that link.
And we also have courtreserve.com/webinars. All past webinars are also posted at that link as well. So you can go and search webinars by dates and find past webinars that we've done this year on that page as well. All right, so Josh, I'm going to turn it back over to you. I'll moderate the QA section right now, and we will keep plugging away.
All right, great. I hope everybody is doing well today. The first feature that I wanted to go over is the ability to merge member accounts. I know that this is something that a lot of admins have been asking for, and they have been asking for it for a long time. So if you do have a member that has multiple accounts in your organization, maybe they have booked, 2 reservations on one account, but they have one primary account that they've been using. You can now quickly consolidate those accounts into one new merged account. So if we go over to the members page on the details tab, we are going to have a more actions dropdown. And on that dropdown, there is going to be a merge member button. Something to point out here is you will need to be manually applying account credit to unpaid fees in order to see this button. So you will need to migrate over to the new account credit process that we have. And we do also have a sub-admin permission here if you want to give or restrict this access to your sub-admins. But once we click the account credit button, if we go over to the next slide, just to give you sort of an overview of the information that is getting merged here, you are going to be merging the past and upcoming bookings. So that's reservations and lessons that are on both members' accounts. You will also be merging the past and upcoming registrations for events and leagues from both of those accounts. And this includes transaction history and anything financial related. So the transaction history from both of those accounts will now be merged into a single account here. And this also applies to things like invoices that were generated on both accounts or packages that have been sold to both accounts. Those will all be included in this merge process. So that way, if a member does have, duplicate accounts here, you can just consolidate all of that player information into a single account. In terms of things that you'll actually be deciding, other than the 2 actual accounts, you will get to decide the details that you would like to keep on this new merged account here. So if a member is paying for a membership on one account, but they choose the guest membership on that duplicate account, you'll get to pick and choose that information. And same goes for all account details. So, if a member has 2 accounts, and they have the email that they really want to use on the account that's not active. During this merging process, you can make sure that correct email gets added to the merged account. And from there, you'll also be able to choose things like phone number, address, custom ratings, custom fields. All of that information you get to decide as an admin when you are creating this new merged account. Something that I will point out here is this process is not undoable or revertible. So, if you are in an instance where, you really want to make sure you're giving the member the email address that they really want to use on their account, I would just really make sure you're getting that information beforehand to make sure you are keeping the correct information on the member's account. With this, we have also updated the process when you are detaching a member from a family. That was sort of a prerequisite for this feature as well. So now when you are detaching a member from a family, there's a lot more information that is going to be migrated over to this member's new account. On this new account, you're going to keep all of the past and upcoming reservations and lessons. Same with events and league registrations. And transactions will be migrated over as well, as long as they are assigned on an individual level. Of course, if there's a fee that's on a family level, we can't move that over to the member's new account there. But we do have an article on merging accounts, and we also do have an article on detaching members from a family that go over that logic in a lot more detail if you sort of want to see the details on that. All right. The next thing that I would like to go over, we can go to the next slide, is the advanced
I'm
email.
sorry. I did want to just hit, just because since merging accounts is so big, there were a couple questions that came in.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
the answer. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself fast enough.
Mhm,
Um,
yeah.
so will a player's or a member's billing information, like their credit card, also be merged?
Yes, so the billing info, like for the payment profile, for example, it's going to keep the payment profiles on the destination account. So when you are merging accounts, you're choosing a source account and a destination account. So it's going to keep the payment profiles and things like the notification preferences from the destination account.
Okay, great. And I'm going to ask a question here that might require, maybe it might require a little bit more research on our part. So we might have to follow up with this customer. But what if one of the accounts I'm merging is being used as the only account at another club? Does the new membership account take its place? I guess maybe the question they're asking is, do those accounts connect?
So if a member is, using, maybe has a second account at an organization and that second account is linked to another organization, is
I
that?
believe that's the question here.
So if that is the case, so say you have a second account that has this second email on it, and that second email is linked to another organization. That second email during the merging process, if you decide to keep that first email, it's going to delete that email from this organization during this merging process. So it will sort of detach those accounts, if that sort of makes sense, since that second email is no longer in the organization that you are merging the accounts in,
Okay.
if that's clear.
Okay, and we can also, if you have further questions about this too, you can also reach out to our customer success team and we can dive a little bit more deeper in that with you as well. Also, if you're having any issues with merging member accounts, I do also just want to offer, please reach out to our customer success team. If I noticed a question just came in that a membership didn't move to the correct account, please go to just our live chat support and let them know what you've just done, just because there could be a support thing that we need to look at. Also, Josh, is there audit log tracking too for this merge account?
Yes, there is. So when you are merging accounts, there's going to be an action for the account that's deleted during this process. That delete member action will say that this account has been deleted due to the merge. There's also going to be an audit log action that shows you all of the information that you kept in the new merged account and also all of the information that you did not keep. So you'll be able to see the deleted account information and the new merged account information in the audit log.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna let you keep going. I don't think, can you actually, there is one more question. So so duplicate accounts can be merged into the new account. What happens to the former account? Are they still visible?
So the former account would be deleted. So there would be that delete member action there, and it'll say it was deleted due to the merging process. But like we just said, there is going to be an audit log action that keeps track of any account details that you deleted in this process. And there's going to be an action for all of the information you are keeping in the new merged account.
And then there is another question here about just enterprise functionality. Yes, you do have the merging functionality available within enterprise accounts as you would in a normal individual location that is not an enterprise.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's keep moving forward. We have about 20 minutes left on the timeline here. If there's something that we didn't cover, we'll try and get to the rest of the questions about this functionality later, or towards the end in the QA section at the end, or you can also reach out to our customer success team.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, and the next feature that I want to go over is the new advanced email builder that we have added into the email players page. This new advanced email builder just has a lot more flexibility and ways for you to customize this email that you are sending out to players, especially compared to the previous email builder that we had. So in this new advanced email builder, there's going to be a group of different content types that you can choose from. So header, paragraph, list, image. You can quickly add social media icons and things like that. And with each content type, there are going to be content properties, sort of like you can see in the screenshot here. So you'll be able to edit each different content type, and each content type will have their own set of settings along with them. This email builder is also great because it has the ability to add rows. So you can have, two columns in an area and maybe have a paragraph next to an image. You just have a lot more flexibility, and it really opens up the creativity that you can have, if you're sending out a monthly newsletter or something like that. And if we go to the next slide here, when you are on the email players page, we are going to have this try advanced editor button. So if you'd like to try it out, maybe just play around with it, sort of get familiar with it, you can always click that button. And if you ever need to revert back to our old email editor, there's going to be a back to basic editor button there as well. But we do have an article that goes over this email builder more in depth and kind of breaks down each content type that we have there. In terms of emailing, we have also added the ability to duplicate emails. So when you are clicking view email history, there's now going to be a duplicate button on that sent emails grid. And also when you're looking at the details of a sent email, there's going to be that duplicate button. So if you have a monthly newsletter and you just need to quickly copy the format from last month, you can now use that duplicate button rather than having to recreate all of that every single month. With that, we have also updated the notify registrants email builder. So this is for when you are emailing event registrants, league registrants, or even players on a reservation. We've added an email builder that's much simpler than that new advanced email editor that I was just going over. The main change here with this editor is we have added the header and the footer that your organization has for system notifications by default. So even if you need to quickly send out a message to your event registrants, to your league registrants, or your reservation players that have that reservation booked, even with sending that message really quickly, you can still keep sort of that consistent formatting that your system notifications have.
All right. Josh, there are a couple questions that I just wanted to ask about the email. Is there a way to keep these standard emails saved, maybe the ones that we send the most often?
So right now we have the duplicate button, which would be the only way. I will say we are working on sort of adding more and more features to the email players process. So we are working on the ability to add templates and also save draft emails, save more than one draft email. Those are things that we are working on right now. And I also see there's a question on analytics. Right now, we're sort of working on adding the ability to add templates and draft emails. Once we have that released and get feedback on that, sort of the third phase that we have here is to add analytics. Haven't started the analytics part of it, but we are currently working on the template and the draft emails part of this project.
Awesome. Well, let's keep plugging along. No more questions right now, but let's move into the 2FA.
All right, great. Yeah, so the last big feature that I have to go over is we do now have the ability to add two-factor authentication for system users at your organization. So if you do want to enhance your security and have your system users sort of verify their identity before they are logging in on the admin side of your organization, you can now enable two-factor authentication. So if we go on the next slide here under settings, organization settings, we're now going to have this two-factor authentication button. For the admin that's enabling this, once they hit the enable button, they will need to verify their identity first. And once they have sent in their verification code, the two-factor authentication process will now apply to all system users at your organization. It's not going to log all of your system users out of your organization. It's just going to require them to go through this two-factor authentication process moving forward. All right, and the last thing that I have are just a few smaller additional features that we have added, in this quarter. The first one is going to be Safe Secure. So now when new customers are integrating with SafeSave, there's going to be an additional public key that will be required in addition to the API key in order to get SafeSave integrated into your organization. If you are a current customer that's integrated with SafeSave, don't worry, there's not going to be any additional steps or anything that you need to do in order to get this public key added. We are currently communicating with SafeSave and they are generating public keys for all of our current customers, and we are going to deal with adding that public key on the back end. So for anyone who's currently integrated, you won't need to worry about adding this public key manually at any point. We're going to get that added in there for you, and we will let you know once that public key has been added. But this is a public key that's going to add an extra level of security into that integration. We also continue to add some additional audit log tracking specifically for financials in the system. This was sort of a larger project that we got finished up with about halfway through this quarter. But now in the audit log, we are tracking the system user and also the date and the time that fees have been voided, that fees have been overridden, that payments have been reverted, and also when payment profiles have been added or deleted in the system and more. But for instances like overriding fees, you'll be able to see which system user did it, how much the original fee amount was, and how much they overrid it to. So really just adding all of that information in the audit log so you can see exactly what's happening with those transactions in your organization.
I did want to add just with that, if you stumble across a piece of functionality with those financials on the audit log that maybe we're not tracking that you would like visibility on. Josh worked very hard to find all of the scenarios, but if you find one, I know there was one that came up after we finished and we found another. So we can add more functionality in there. But if there's some audit log tracking there surrounding the financials that you're not seeing that we think that would be helpful, please reach out to our customer success team and they'll be sure to get us that information.
Right. Or even if you feel there's, maybe additional information that would be helpful in something that we do already have, we can pretty easily get that added. So feel free to reach out.
We're really good at audit log tracking, aren't we now? All right. So I would like to introduce Scott. Scott, are you still with us?
I am still here. Yes. Thank you, Kim
Awesome.
and
So
Josh.
so excited to have you here. And you did a couple things for us this quarter too that we're excited to announce. So I'll let you take it.
Yeah, just being new, I don't have any big announcements, but one that might be of interest to people. We've adjusted the organization start day of week setting. So it now will dictate when your weekly restriction windows reset. Um, the default value for this is Monday. If you have not changed this default value, you will not notice any difference. But if you have changed your start day of week, the weekly restrictions you have set will now be dictated by that day. So if you change it to Sunday, your restrictions will now be in a window of Sunday to Saturday instead of Monday to Sunday. So that's a pretty handy little setting if you have changed that default value. And also, we've now added an export button to league match results so you can get an Excel file for your league match results. Just a little simple file that has the match date, time, players, and scores on it. That's all I got for today.
Cool. Well, let's just go through Josh real quick and see if we've got any additional questions. There is one about the email. I don't actually know the answer to this, but you might. I don't know if this is functionality of the email builder that we're using, but do you have any idea within that email builder, do we have a vote or a poll button?
I do not believe so. I think the closest thing there would be is there's a button content type, but you would still need to create that poll somewhere externally from CourtReserve.
Okay. And then do we have a gift card system that you would use to apply credit for gift cards? No, so we don't actually have a gift card integration system that really works with CourtReserve. So anything gift card related would still be external to our software. You could just mark as like a manual payment or something like that. And then there's a question around any plans on doing time card or payroll option. We do have plans as far as our timeline goes and just our goals for the quarter. We do have plans to start working on an instructor payroll piece actually here very soon that we'll hopefully have out early in the first part of 2025. As far as time card payroll for your specific maybe pro shop people or anybody else that's an employee of the club, we have that feedback. It's actually very high on the idea board. We've thrown it around as something if we might try and tackle, but we just don't have any plans at the moment to begin work on a specific payroll time card option. Is there a way to connect a member's account to their cell phones or name instead of their emails? This is why duplicate accounts seem to be so easily created. That's a really great feedback. Actually, Josh, that might be something just to take note of in just, I know you're working on the simplification or anything friction related, that kind of project. So we might want to
Right.
take that. But just the way CourtReserve works as a whole is everything is tied to an email address. So just really the background inner workings utilize that email address to connect people. Incorporate discount codes. We do have discount codes on our radar. It is something that we do definitely have plans to do. I don't have more information on timeline right now, just because we haven't started working on it, but discount codes are definitely going to be a thing. Integration with QuickBooks, another really good one. I think, Josh, that was on our radar for Q4, but I don't think that that's going to happen at this point right now, but we are aware of it and it will be coming at some point. Last four digits of the customer credit card to be used. I actually think I have that as quick pick on my board to implement as far as the transactions list. So we might see that one make an appearance as well. Date of birth, that's good feedback too for creating accounts.
Yeah, I'll keep note of those ones.
Okay, that's great. I'm just scrolling through the Q&A section here to see what else we can get through. I'm also going to click to the next slide too. Do you need to have a GoTab account to integrate this with the app? And are there extra fees for that? That is a great question. So GoTab, you have to have a restaurant or you have to be set up in GoTab with your menus and everything like that in order to integrate. So you do have some setup involved on the GoTab side. The entire purpose of GoTab is to have that food and beverage point of sale in your location, and then you would connect that to CourtReserve for the billing piece of the GoTab experience. So we will definitely, you'll want to keep an eye out for when we have that webinar scheduled. You can also go to courtreserve.com. You can get more information about GoTab within courtreserve.com as one of our integration partners. And you can schedule a demo with them as well through our site too. So you'll be directed to somebody at GoTab who's going to be happy to give you a one-on-one demo with how you can get started with their GoTab experience. Lots of questions about instructors. I don't have more information on any type of before the instructors can see their upcoming classes. Josh, do you know if we have any reports that instructors can see upcoming classes?
Let me take a look here.
I will
If
move
that
through.
would be specifically for events, that might be a question to go to support and see the best option, because we'd probably need a report that runs on an event level for each action and that can also filter by instructor. I'm sure there's some sort of report we could
Yeah.
find that could get that.
They might need to have access to reports though, but they also
Yeah.
have access to, their schedule too. So they can, the hope is that they're able to log into that admin side of CourtReserve and be able to see that schedule so they can maybe see from a week view or something like that what they have coming. Any sneak peeks for next month? Our next release will actually be in January. So keep an eye out for after the first of the year. Everything that we're working on a cadence right now of quarterly releases. So we're not releasing every month like we used to. If there's something simple that we can release that'll make the lives of our users better without a a full-on announcement. We're kind of releasing in bits and pieces with some things, but primarily we're doing quarterly releases now. So everything we're working on in Q4, that'll be ready for release. Those will go. I think our next release cycle is the week after the New Year's or something like that. So we'll be sure to keep you updated on what's being released. All right, Josh, any questions that are jumping out here at you? The list is getting a little bit long.
Let's see here.
I do see a question about a third-party CRM. I do believe, I know where your question is going here. Is member data easily imported into other platforms? We are discussing how to make visible our API to customers and how customers can utilize an API to connect your account with an external resource just for, CRM needs and things like that. So keep an eye on that. We will have functionality about APIs coming in the future. And I see some feedback in here, Josh, too, that we can just note about additional functionality going forward. So we'll be sure to note that as well, because that actually has been a topic. I see that question. That has been a topic we've been throwing around as well. Is there a way to give pros access to blocking off their own availability without giving them all permissions? Josh, do you happen to know the answer to that question, or should we direct to support for that just to get more information?
I believe if they have access to the unavailable lesson type, they should be able to add that to their own schedule.
Yeah, that's correct. You're right, actually. So as they go into their own schedule, if they have access to that unavailable lesson type, you could go into your own schedule and make yourself unavailable. But also, I recommend reaching out to our support team. Perhaps there's something else there. Just sometimes we don't have our screens in front of us, so it's hard for us to fully understand the answer that we might need to give you. So definitely reach out to support for that. And then there's one last question here. With the new account credit feature, will members be able to preload funds onto their account? No, we don't have that available yet. That is on our radar for future enhancements about things that we might do in the future. Not necessarily today. It's not something I'm working on right now, but perhaps it is something that we would make available in the future. All right, great. So that was the end of our QA section. We cleared some of those out. So next up, our webinar series. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we're in the middle of a fall webinar series. Our next webinar is next Wednesday, November 6th. I can't believe next Wednesday is already November. But next Wednesday, November 6th, we're going to be perfecting the point of sale and giving you all of the best practices for point of sale use with CourtReserve. We're also going to have some special guests with our friends at Fromuth who are going to come in with us and give you some best practice tips from running pro shops as well in the rack exports distribution area. So go to courtreserve.com/webinars. You can find a list of all of our upcoming webinars. We're going to have one in December about instructor essentials, instructor schedules, things like that. We will list our GoTab integration webinar when that is scheduled on here as well. And any past webinars that you might have missed, those are all going to be listed on this page too. And I believe we also add those to our YouTube channel too, right, Josh?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. In CourtReserve, what webinar is good for new members? Right now, our webinars are geared mostly towards admin functionality, but reach out to our support team. I believe in our YouTube channel, we might have, Josh, do you remember off the top of your head, do we have a webinar posted on YouTube? I know there was a video at some point maybe that guided members through, but I'm not 100%.
I think we do have a collection of articles, and I think there are some videos included in there that are specifically for players. So yeah, I definitely would reach out to support, and I know we do have some articles that can be sent to them just to give them some more information.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. It was so awesome having you with us. Josh, I believe we cracked our goal of over 100 people joining at once.
I saw it.
I did see our attendee list go over 100, so I was pretty excited here in the background. But again, our next release will be in January. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We went right until 1 o'clock. So have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.